Part 1: A Genius in the Shadows. Some children grow up bathed in the glow of expectation. Amy Bishop was one of them. Massachusetts, 1986. A scholarly family lived quietly in the peaceful town of Braintree, inside a house lined with books, anatomy posters, and the faint smell of chemical experiments in the air. Amy was the eldest child. Born in 1965, raised in an environment where achievement wasn't a goal, it was a commandment. Her father, Samuel Bishop, was a gifted artist but also a rigid disciplinarian. Her mother, Judith, sharp and assertive, was active in the local community. They believed their daughter was destined for greatness, and everyone around them was expected to believe it, too. From a very young age, Amy showed exceptional intelligence, while other 7-year-olds were still struggling with basic math. Amy was reading medical textbooks and asking questions about human biology that stunned her teachers. She devoured science like candy. She absorbed knowledge like oxygen. And behind those thick glasses and intense eyes was a mind always racing. Amy wasn't like other kids, one former teacher said. She didn't just want to learn, she wanted to dominate. But along with her intellect came something else. Something darker. Amy didn't handle criticism well. When she lost, she didn't cry, she burned. Her outbursts were unpredictable. Her temper, volatile. And when she got angry, she became someone else entirely. Eyes empty. Words sharp. Attention in the air, like something ready to snap. Her family dismissed it. To them, Amy was just a sensitive genius. Anyone who challenged her simply didn't get it. Then came college. Amy studied biology at Northeastern University, where she quickly outshined her peers. She moved on to Harvard for her PhD, the kingdom of the intellectually elite. But at Harvard, she was no longer the smartest person in the room. And that's when the cracks began to show. In a place where everyone was brilliant, Amy began to feel threatened. She wasn't receiving the admiration she was used to. Her research was questioned. Her proposals rejected. Colleagues excelled. She stalled. Her self-confidence twisted into bitterness. Not open jealousy, something worse. An internal voice whispering, "I'm smarter than them. Why don't they see it?" Every rejection felt like betrayal. Every peer's success, a personal insult. And slowly, day by day, her resentment began to ferment. But Amy's first tragedy didn't happen in a lab. It happened back home. In that very house where she had once built science projects and read Shakespeare by the window. In the home that raised her, a deadly secret was born. And it all unraveled one cold winter day. December 6, 1986. One body, one family torn apart, and a genius quietly began to unravel. Part 2: The Death of Seth. Braintree, Massachusetts, December 6, 1986. The sky was gray. Cold. Snow blanketed the rooftops like thick sugar. Christmas was in the air, but inside the house at 154 Columbian Street, something quiet was breaking. Amy Bishop, 21 years old, was arguing with her mother. Just another heated exchange between daughter and mom. But this time, upstairs in that cramped little bedroom, Amy was unraveling. Her voice grew sharper, louder. Panic and fury mixed in her tone. Amy was a Harvard student, but at that moment, she wasn't a genius. She was a terrified, furious girl on the edge of something irreversible. Her father wasn't home that day. Inside the house, aside from Amy and her mother, was Seth Bishop, Amy's younger brother, 18 years old. Seth was the golden child. Tall, calm, brilliant in his own right. And unlike Amy, everyone adored him. He was applying to MIT. He played the piano. He was gentle, kind, quiet. To many, he was the real pride of the Bishop family. And maybe Amy knew that. As the argument reached its boiling point, Amy stormed out of the room. She went straight into her father's bedroom, opened a drawer, and pulled out a 12-gauge pump-action shotgun, a heavy hunting weapon, not something for the untrained. Later, Amy would tell police she was just curious about how it worked. That she didn't know it was loaded. That she wanted to ask her dad how to unload it. But the truth? She loaded the gun. She removed the safety. She pulled the trigger. A thunderous blast tore through the air. Her mother screamed. A wall was riddled with pellets. Amy panicked. She ran downstairs, where Seth was standing in the kitchen. He turned to look at her, just in time for the second shot. The blast hit him square in the chest. He collapsed instantly, blood gushing onto the cold kitchen tile. His eyes wide open. No words. No scream. Seth died right there, in front of his sister. Judith, their mother, rushed in, screaming. She dialed 911 in hysterics. And Amy? Amy fled the scene, shotgun still in hand. Minutes later, police officers spotted Amy wandering near a gas station, armed. When they ordered her to drop the gun, Amy refused. One officer later recalled, she turned to us slowly, still gripping the shotgun. No expression. No tears. Like, this wasn't real life. Eventually, they tackled her. Disarmed her. Took her into custody. Amy Bishop was not charged. No trial. No prison. No criminal record. What happened? According to reports, Amy's mother, the only eyewitness, told police it was an accident. Amy didn't mean to shoot Seth. She was frightened. Didn't understand the weapon. And the police believed her. The case was closed. Filed as accidental discharge, no criminal intent. No psychological evaluation. No cross-examination. No deep probe into motive. Years later, details began to surface, and they were chilling. Amy had reloaded the shotgun after the first blast. She had aimed the gun at officers before being arrested. And someone, perhaps with power, may have intervened to bury the case. Rumors swirled that Judith Bishop, well connected in local politics, had influenced the investigation to protect her daughter. One retired officer whispered to the press, "If that had been any other family, Amy Bishop would have been charged with murder before the night was over." So what really happened in that house? Was it an accident? Or did Amy coldly shoot her brother, out of jealousy? Did she crave her parents' attention? Or worse, was it premeditated rage disguised as chaos? No one knows. And now, no one ever truly will. Seth Bishop is dead. And Amy not only survived. She went on to graduate, earn a PhD, become a professor, have a family. But Seth's death never left her. It followed her like a shadow. Until the day she picked up a gun again. Part 3, 2 Faces, 1 Life. After Seth's death, things didn't spiral into darkness as one might expect. There were no handcuffs. No prison cell. No criminal record. It was as if the whole thing had been erased. Amy quietly returned to the life she had meticulously constructed, the life of a scholar. She finished her degree at Northeastern, then earned a PhD in biology at none other than Harvard University, the shrine of brilliant minds. But this time, she wasn't the star of the show. At Harvard, everyone was brilliant. Everyone had been the best at something. And to Amy Bishop, that reality was intolerable. She felt excluded, ignored, unrecognized. Each rejected paper was more than a failure. It was an insult to the genius she believed herself to be. Bitterness began to bloom like black mold in a sealed basement. Slowly. Silently. Fatally. To her colleagues, Amy was strange. Always name-dropping her academic achievements like a protective mantra. Clearly jealous of others' success. and at times, disturbingly aggressive. One former colleague recalled, "You didn't have to insult Amy to set her off. Just disagreeing was enough to flip the switch." And when it flipped, she wasn't the same person. The professor. The mother. The wife. Oddly enough, despite the warning signs, Amy kept climbing. She married James Anderson, a scientist who stood by her unwaveringly, no matter how strange things got. Together, they had 4 children. To outsiders, they looked like an ordinary, high-functioning family. But beneath that calm exterior, Amy's mind was spiraling. In 2003, she landed a job as a biology professor at the University of Alabama in Huntsville, UAH. At first, she was seen as a quirky but competent academic. But the more people interacted with her, the more they noticed something was off. Students described her as cold, detached, sometimes downright hostile. She would snap without warning, sometimes abruptly leave the classroom, and often talk to herself under her breath. She earned a nickname among students, the Time Bomb, and among faculty. Things weren't much better. Constant complaints from Amy about imagined slights, regular clashes with coworkers, accusations of being uncooperative, combative, and mentally unstable. Despite years of service, Amy was never granted tenure, a prestigious, job-secure promotion that meant permanent academic status. In 2009, the university finally gave her a formal notice. Amy Bishop's tenure application was denied. And something inside her fractured. She fought back, filed grievances, sent scathing emails, insisted she was the victim of academic jealousy. She wrote that her peers were intimidated by her intellect, that she was unfairly targeted, that the university had conspired to silence her brilliance. But the doors stayed shut. And in Amy's mind, everyone became the enemy. They didn't appreciate her. They betrayed her. They wanted her gone. In one of her emails to the department chair, she wrote ominously, "I know exactly what's happening. And I won't be quiet." She wasn't quiet. And soon, she wouldn't be passive either. Nobody knows exactly when she started planning. But everyone agreed later. If anyone was going to snap, it was Amy. To the world, she was a mother, a Harvard-trained professor, a brilliant biologist. But deep within, a monster slept, curled beneath her academic gown. A woman who had killed once before. A predator with no cage. A storm hiding behind spreadsheets. And one day, she returned to the weapon. Not by accident. Not in panic. This time, Amy would shoot with purpose. Part 4, The Day Alabama Stopped Breathing. February 12, 2010. It was cold. A restless wind howled through the halls of the University of Alabama in Huntsville. Just another Friday afternoon, or so it seemed, until reality cracked wide open. 3:50 p.m., third-floor conference room, Science Building. 7 faculty members gathered. A long wooden table. A whiteboard. And a tension you could feel in the walls. This was the routine departmental meeting. Agenda. Teaching updates, budget notes, and one final discussion about terminating Amy Bishop's employment. Amy sat silently. No complaints. No fiery emails. Just a stillness. A chilling calm. Some faculty exchanged nervous glances. They were used to her volatility. But today, Amy was different. Cold. Too calm. Like someone who had already made a decision. Midway through the meeting, Amy stood. No warning. She reached into her black handbag and pulled out a 9mm handgun. The first blast cracked like thunder. Dr. Gopi Padala, department chair, slumped over the table, his blood soaking the meeting notes. before anyone could move. Boom. Dr. Maria Raglan Davis took a bullet to the head. Boom. Dr. Adriel Johnson collapsed beside his chair. 3 professors dead in 10 seconds. Screams tore through the air. Dr. Deborah Moriarty, the department's deputy chair, lunged at Amy, desperately trying to stop her. Amy raised the gun to Deborah's forehead and pulled the trigger. Click. Nothing. The gun jammed. Deborah didn't hesitate. She shoved Amy back and shouted, "Run. She has a gun. She's killing us." The survivors bolted from the room, blood on their clothes, fear in their lungs. Within 4 minutes, the entire building was on lockdown. Police arrived. Paramedics flooded in. News vans pulled up like vultures circling carnage. Amy was arrested in the parking lot, just as she attempted to leave campus. Inside her car, the 9mm pistol, extra ammunition, and a face that was eerily calm. At the scene, an officer asked, "Do you know what you've done?" Amy replied, "Yes." No tears. No hysteria. Just cold clarity. The story exploded across national headlines. And reporters started digging. What they found stunned the country. Amy Bishop had killed before. Her brother, Seth, in 1986. With a shotgun. And somehow, she had never been charged. The records had gone missing. The case closed too quickly. The shooting written off as an accident. Now people were asking, why was she never prosecuted? Who protected her? Could this new bloodshed have been prevented? In June 2011, Amy Bishop was formally charged with 3 counts of capital murder, 3 counts of attempted murder. Prosecutors pursued the death penalty. At first, Amy pleaded not guilty. But as the trial approached and death row loomed, she changed course. In 2012, she accepted a plea deal. Life in prison without parole. In a prison interview, Amy said, "It doesn't feel real. I just remember the gun jamming. After that, it's a blur." She claimed, "I'm not that person." But few believed her. Not after 3 people lay dead. Not after years of warning signs. Not after what happened in 1986. Amy Bishop, Harvard-trained biologist, professor, mother of 4, and also a killer. Twice. With decades between the screams. Some say she forgot. Some say she snapped. But maybe she never forgot. Maybe she was just waiting. The bomb had gone off. And on that frigid winter day, Alabama stopped breathing. Part 5, A Legacy of Blood and the Unanswered Questions. The massacre lasted less than 60 seconds. But its echo still lingers today. The memory of that day is forever carved into the minds of the survivors. What was supposed to be a routine faculty meeting turned into a cold-blooded execution. No warning. No mercy. And then came the question, chilling and relentless. How did someone who killed before become a tenured professor? The answer didn't lie in Alabama. It began in Braintree, Massachusetts, all the way back in 1986. Amy Bishop, just 21 years old at the time, shot and killed her own brother, Seth Bishop, with a shotgun. She claimed it was an accident. And somehow, the matter was dropped. No arrest. No trial. No criminal record. No psychiatric commitment. Just one official explanation. She panicked. It was a family tragedy. But after the 2010 shootings, the 1986 case resurfaced like a corpse breaking the surface of a swamp. Why did Amy fire 2 shots, not 1? Why did she then aim the gun at her own mother? Why did she flee to a car repair shop, threatening workers there? And most importantly, why was she released the same day? Months after the UAH shooting, former officials in Braintree were publicly questioned. All of them deflected. We no longer have the files. Maybe they were misplaced. No one remembers the exact details. But one truth stood firm. The case was buried. A woman who had taken a life walked free. She taught. She raised children. And years later, she killed again. Following her arrest, psychiatrists attempted to analyze Amy Bishop. Some diagnosed her with paranoid personality disorder. She believed the world was against her, that she was superior to others and unfairly persecuted. Others called her a cold-blooded narcissist, lacking empathy, remorseless, driven by rage and ego. But no diagnosis was conclusive. Amy refused to truly cooperate. I don't remember. That wasn't me. It's all a blur. Yet the world knew. Guns don't pull their own triggers. And no one forgets killing 3 people unless they choose to. Amy had 4 children. After the massacre, her husband, James Anderson, was not charged. He insisted he knew nothing of her plans. Just that she was sad about losing her job. The entire family was thrown into chaos. Paparazzi swarmed. Their children grew up haunted by their mother's name, stained with blood. Gopi Padala, a dedicated department chair, a kind father. Maria Raglan Davis, a brilliant biologist, a mother of 2. Audrey L. Johnson, a Warren professor, a devoted husband. They died just for attending a meeting. No chance to run. No time to fight back. Just a bullet, a name, and then silence. Amy Bishop now serves life in prison without parole at the Julia Tutwiler Prison in Alabama. She lives behind concrete walls, no light, no research, no family. But for many, this story is far from over. Because it left a crack in the system. The legal system can bury crimes. Ordinary people may hide extraordinary darkness. A professor, a mother, a scientist, can also be a mass murderer. What do you think? If that gun hadn't jammed, maybe it wouldn't have stopped at 3. Maybe the entire biology department would be dead. Maybe we glimpsed a monster behind human eyes. Part 6, Behind Bars, The Silent Monster and the Cost of Justice. After being sentenced to life in prison without parole, Amy Bishop was sent to Julia Tutwiler Prison for Women, a facility infamous for being harsh, overcrowded, and dark in reputation. In a small, cold cell with no windows, where sunlight was just a faint smudge on a concrete wall, the woman who was once a professor, a scientist, a mother, was now inmate number 145382. Her name locked behind iron. Her humanity sealed away. No more academic conferences. No more lectures, students, or scientific research. Only steel beds, plastic meal trays, and a silence that gnaws at the mind. When Amy received her life sentence, the courts closed the case. Justice, it seemed, had been served. But was it really enough? 3 people dead. 3 families shattered. Dozens of survivors traumatized. 4 children motherless. A university forever haunted. Can any verdict repay that cost? In prison, Amy Bishop rarely speaks. She doesn't open up to inmates. Doesn't cry. Doesn't express regret. She simply exists, as if the massacre had never happened. One witness once said, "She walks the prison yard like a robot. Her eyes, empty. No anger, no sadness. Nothing. Like a ghost still walking." Years after the shooting, a local journalist mailed Amy a letter, hoping for an explanation. 3 months later, he received a handwritten reply. Just 9 chilling words. "They were planning to destroy me. I stopped them. No apology. No sorrow. No remorse. Only blame and a paranoid belief that she was the victim. After the massacre, a statewide investigation reopened the 1986 shooting of Amy's brother. What they uncovered was damning. Evidence had vanished. Witnesses ignored. The case quietly buried. One politician declared on national television, "If that first killing had been properly handled, 3 professors in Alabama would be alive today." Justice was delayed, and its cost was blood. In 2010, media dubbed Amy the Frankenstein of American academia, a failed experiment where genius met madness. She had once been praised as a brilliant scientist with innovations that could treat ALS. Now, all that remains is a mind full of knowledge, a heart empty of empathy, a soul lost in rage. James Anderson, Amy's husband, eventually left the state. He never gave interviews, only left one comment: "I don't understand what happened. I have nothing else to say." Their 4 children were taken in by relatives. They grew up beneath the heavy shadow of the name Bishop, haunted by the memory of a mother who walked into a university with a gun and opened fire. The Amy Bishop case isn't just a tragedy. It's a warning that people we trust, professors, parents, scientists, may hide a monster inside. That one failure in the justice system can lead to a massacre years later. That genius, mental illness, and murder can exist within a single person. In every school, every classroom, every university. Could there be another Amy Bishop, quiet, calculating, waiting? Because once, she was a mother, a teacher, a scholar, and finally, a remorseless killer. Part 7, Inside the Mind of Amy Bishop, When Genius Turns to Evil. Amy Bishop, a name once featured in biomedical journals. A PhD, an inventor, a mind once praised as undeniably brilliant. But behind the pristine white lab coat, something darker stirred. A former colleague once said, "There was something off about her. Always tense. Always convinced people were out to get her. And her eyes, they weren't the eyes of someone ordinary." Psychiatrists later noted clear signs of paranoid personality disorder in Amy Bishop. A constant belief that others were plotting against her. Extreme reactions to mild criticism. An inability to accept failure. A refusal to admit fault, ever. To Amy, being denied tenure wasn't just a career setback. It was a personal execution. In her mind, they weren't just colleagues. They were enemies. And they had to pay. As the investigation deepened, it became clear Amy wasn't just a brilliant misfit. She was a product of a high-pressure, controlling household. Her mother, Judith Bishop, was described as strict and forceful. It's widely believed she used political influence to help Amy avoid charges in the 1986 shooting of her brother. When you're raised to believe you're always right, mistakes will be erased. Those who criticize you are villains. You grow into an adult who doesn't understand morality, only revenge. For years, Amy moved through life as a highly educated shadow, earned a PhD, published scientific research, became a mother of 4. But alongside that, she had assaulted a woman in an IHOP, threatened students, screamed profanities at her department chair, sent a suspicious package to a colleague. It was all building pressure, like steam in a sealed pot. And on the day she was denied tenure, the lid finally blew off. The most chilling thing about Amy Bishop isn't that she'd snapped. It's that the warning signs were loud and clear, and everyone looked away. She'd threatened students. She cursed at the department head. Everyone knew, but no one wanted to confront her. A faculty member, anonymous. Why? Because she was a smart woman. A PhD. A mother. And when she became unstable, paranoid, dangerous, people backed off. Until it was too late. If just one person had stepped forward and said, "Amy needs help. She's losing control. We need to report this," then maybe Gopi Padla would still be alive. Maria Raglan Davis would still be teaching. Audrielle Johnson would still come home every night. But no one did. Because silence kills too. The final, and perhaps most bone-chilling, question is this: how many Amy Bishops are silently walking among us? People who teach, research, raise families, but inside their heads brews a death list, a revenge plan waiting to ignite. We don't know. Because as Amy Bishop proved, the deadliest killers can hide behind a smile, a degree, a name. Part 8, The Price of Silence, When Academia Breeds a Monster. A university, in theory, is a place of knowledge. A sanctuary of critical thinking and debate. A temple of ideas. But sometimes, it becomes fertile ground for darkness to grow. In the quiet halls of the University of Alabama, no one heard the monster screaming from within. Not because it was silent, but because no one chose to listen. In many academic institutions, especially prestigious ones, an unspoken culture thrives. Don't rock the boat. Don't make things worse. Keep the peace. Amy Bishop crossed the line again and again. And each time, her actions were brushed aside. She's just difficult. She's under pressure. It's not serious enough to report. And then, people died. A threatening email. She probably didn't mean it. A violent outburst. Professors are passionate people. A student publicly humiliated. It's not our business. But here's the chilling truth. Monsters don't appear out of nowhere. They grow, fueled by every warning we ignore. When Amy attacked a woman at an IHOP, she wasn't prosecuted. When suspected of mailing a bomb, the case was dropped. When she shot and killed her brother, police called it an accident. Why? Because Amy was a white, educated woman from a politically connected family. She didn't look like the killer. So the system gave her chance after chance. And that was the fatal mistake. Amy wasn't stupid. She was a neurobiologist, a researcher, a woman who once studied ALS and stem cells. She could have saved lives. Instead, she took them. Because intellect, when unrestrained by morality, becomes the most dangerous weapon of all. Intelligence has no ceiling. But ethics must have boundaries. Did society help create Amy Bishop? The most terrifying question of all. Did we, society, help create this tragedy? We praised brilliance and ignored cruelty. We stayed silent out of fear. We judged credentials, not character. We believed a PhD-holding mother of 4 couldn't be a murderer. But Amy Bishop was a killer. Cold. Calculated. Remorseless. If the University of Alabama massacre is merely a lesson, then we've learned nothing. Because every year, hundreds of red flags go ignored. Thousands stay silent out of fear. Countless people pay the price. So how many more bodies must hit the ground before we start listening? Before someone snaps again? Amy Bishop will spend the rest of her life behind bars. She is no longer free. But there are others like her, monsters with diplomas, still out there. In schools, in workplaces, in homes. And if we keep turning away, they'll open fire again. And again. And again. Part 9, The Cold End, A Life That Devoured Itself. The day Amy Bishop stepped into the lecture hall as a professor, she had it all. Xenotation spot a family. Xenotation spot a dream job. Xenotation spot a respected name in science. Xenotation spot and a future paved by brilliance. But now, she sits alone in a maximum security cell. No students, no applause, no accolades. Only 4 cold walls, and the echoes of 3 lives she extinguished. When sentenced to life in prison without parole, Amy didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She showed no remorse. "I don't remember doing it." Amy Bishop, in court. That was all she said. And the room fell into stunned silence. Cold. Detached. Empty. She never begged for mercy. Because deep down, maybe she still believed she did nothing wrong. Throughout her years in prison, Amy Bishop never admitted guilt. Z-notation spot she blamed academic pressure. Z-notation spot she blamed her colleagues. Z-notation spot she blamed the system. Z-notation spot, and finally, she blamed her victims. A woman smart enough to create life in a lab could not take responsibility for the deaths she caused outside it. The brutal truth is, Amy Bishop wasn't destroyed by others. She destroyed herself. Her husband, once her fiercest defender, vanished from public life. Their 4 children, now burdened with a cursed surname, live in quiet anonymity. Her scientific work, once respected, was erased from journals, withdrawn from citations, and quietly forgotten. The name Dr. Amy Bishop became a curse in academic circles. Amy once dreamed of fame in the scientific world. She envisioned awards, recognition, theories bearing her name. And now, her name is known, but drenched in blood and betrayal. Not as a genius, not as a mother, but as a mass murderer. Amy Bishop's story isn't just a personal tragedy. It's a mirror. Z-notation spot of a flawed academic system. Z-notation spot of a society too quick to excuse the gifted. Z-notation spot of a culture that whispers, "Don't question genius, just keep your head down." How many others follow this same pattern? How many Amy Bishops are waiting, hiding behind resumes, lab coats, and diplomas? Just one breakdown away from catastrophe. When the prison door shut behind Amy Bishop, many believed the nightmare was over. But it wasn't. It was just beginning. Because from now on, every red flag must be seen, every scream must be heard, and every brilliant mind must be judged not just by IQ, but by conscience. If we fail again, the blood will return. The names will change, but the horror will be the same.